if you really want somebody back in your life and you want them to message you, contact you, all that stuff, check this out. It took me a really, really long time to learn this and really embody it. And I really want to make that a point of embodying this. But the idea is just assume that they'll be back. But why? How does this work? Right? Because it's so easy to trick yourself and be like, oh, they'll be back, no problem, yeah, whatever. But you really got to feel it. And this is where confidence and all that comes into play, right? Because when I did this, when I was first learning this in my 20s, my early 20s, I was learning all this shit. And everything really clicked when I understood that there is no lack or shortage of love and women out there, right? And a lot of you guys, because I talk to you guys every single day through text coaching and phone calls. By the way, if you need help, just hit the bio. You guys talk to me all day, and you guys are coming from such a scarce lack mindset, right? And a lot of you are dealing with this. Maybe this is your first, second, third relationship, and a lot of you guys didn't do a lot of dating. So when I get to know your histories, I'm like, okay, like, this is the second or third person you really ever dated. You can have this mindset. You're going to have lack mindset a little bit. So when you assume and get to a place of just being like, hey, they'll be back, whatever, assume they'll be back. It's kind of like this James Bond mindset. The idea comes from like a neutrality energy. It's like a take it or leave it, don't worry about it kind of thing. The more attached you are, so this is the opposite, the more attached you are to the outcome and the person, the more you're going to push them away energetically. It makes sense, but embodying that is the hardest part. And actually trying to use that and put it into play. How do you embody this? Well, it's like anything. You have to have a feedback loop that tells you, your subconscious mind tells you right now and convinces you that what you're doing is going to work. It's like going to the gym, right? If you go to the gym and you start seeing results, or you have a weight loss routine or whatever, and you start to see results, and you're like, okay, this does work. But you initially have to try. And most of the clients don't even want to try no contact. They're so afraid of it. They're afraid of losing the person in fear, right? So this right here is a chart of emotions, right? So look where fear is, right down here. Right, I got to hang this up and it'll be better in my next video. But fear's right down here. Now neutrality's right here, right? So when you go into the relationship, this is where you are because you have no attachments. You have no, you're actually acting courageous and you're actually here when you start the relationship because you're like, oh shit, I'm not coming into this with too much hate or baggage. But then as soon as intimacy comes, sometimes the baggage comes out and all that because you can't hide and run from this shit. You have to actually work on yourself to individually get here, right? But as a relationship as a whole, just the relationship idea, you come into it here because you know that they'll be unattracted to you if you just start dumping your baggage out and coming right down here. They'll run away from you, right? You slowly let that shit in. So what you need to do is you need to try and convince yourself, tell yourself, right, that they'll be back. And see it happen because that thing I showed you is the strongest thing that you can do. And from personal firsthand experience, every girl I ever walked away from, they wanted to break up with me initially, right? And I was like, okay, there's the door. I didn't act needy. I didn't beg. I didn't pursue nothing. And because I didn't do that, they tried coming back at some point. One was 3 months later, one was 6, 7 months later, and one was like 10 or 11 months later. So the point is it can happen, but the more that you pursue and try to push your energy onto theirs, they're just going to walk away from you or try to run away from you. So it's important to mentally get to that place of courage, neutrality, right? So you being courageous in this moment is saying, yeah, they'll be back, whatever, I don't give a shit, right? And what that shows to them and to everyone else, and especially you, is that you have the courage and the confidence to not give a shit and just worry about you. And worry about where you're going next. You're in the present moment. Don't worry about what's going on in the past anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. So just be like, yeah, they'll be back, whatever. It feels difficult. But as soon as you embody it, you're like, oh yeah, I'll never beg for somebody back. I know everyone's going to come back, right? And that's how you get past that hump. It's like anybody I know a lot of women that watch this don't approach men, but men, the dudes that watch this, you guys approach girls. The first time you approach a girl, it's scary, right? And then the 100th time you do it, you're like, whatever, it doesn't even fucking matter anymore. That's kind of the same idea. That logic applies across the board in terms of practice, makes perfect, and that creates that confidence. Confidence is just the most powerful energy that you can have. It's knowing, right? So when people say I think versus I know, it's like trying to walk from one end of the room to the other. You don't have to think about it. You just go and do it, right? That's the idea behind all this. So as soon as you convince yourself and embody this, you're going to go, okay, cool. Well, I know they'll come back, because deep down inside that you're so fucking awesome that somebody new will come along that is better, right? Or you'll get your ex back.